Hey. Welcome back to Trek Chats, a podcast brought to you by Trek on the Tube. I am your host, Sean, and today I bring you a very exciting episode. We're doing one of these extravaganzas. The last time I did this was for Nemesis. We're giving like these least enjoyed Star Trek movies a chance to shine here. So the objective is to be nice, to be kind. If we have criticism, fine, but we're going to try and talk about what we enjoyed with these films. So welcome to the Star Trek V The Final Frontier Extravaganza. My two wonderful guests and wonderful friends joining me today are Braxton. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Hey, guys.
Hey, Braxton.
And Starfleet Boy, thank you and welcome back, sir.
Welcome back. It's been a couple episodes, I think, since I've been on, so it's nice to be back.
This is exciting. I think we need to start off by saying that Braxton had not seen Star Trek V before this, so he watched it in preparation for the recording of this episode.
I love it.
And that is so cool, and I want to know what you thought of it. Please, share your thoughts.
So, dude, I didn't think the Nemesis was that bad, dude. I thought the Nemesis was like a pretty solid entry, dude. I liked it.
Yeah, me too. I like Nemesis too.
So, I had seen that this one had Rotten Tomatoes, that it was certified rotten. About 20 minutes
Oh, no.
in, I was like, what did these dudes convince me to watch? And then I kind of got into its weirdness, And while not being good, I think that it was enjoyable. It started off like crazy. Captain Kirk, like he's like free climbing a rock face dude, and I could see that the actor who was doing the physical climbing was like younger and clever, and then they got to him, and it's like that dude looks like he's in his 60s and he's not in peak physical condition. It is not believable that he would be scaling this rock face. I thought it was very cool that Spock had rocket boots. Like that was really awesome. It was very touching to me at the campfire when Kirk was like, "Oh, doctor, you shouldn't be worried about me because like I always knew that I would die alone, and I knew I wouldn't die because you guys were with me." And I thought that was
I love that.
and I thought that was
That's one of my favorite things about the movie, actually.
I thought that was very powerful. But yeah, dude, like this movie was so weird, kind of. I thought that these were horrible Klingons, but I like seeing Klingons whenever there are Klingons, so I'll take them. You know, the three-boobed alien kitty. Wow, that was seriously wicked.
Captain Kirk just throws her across the ring.
It was super weird for me that Uhura and Scotty were in a relationship. I was like, oh, like is that like a new thing that I missed that somewhere? So
Everyone
that was
missed it.
like, but that was like that was like a thing. But I don't know. Like I thought throughout the movie that these people are in their 60s and 70s. Who would put them on an adventure mission? Like Uhura was out there like dancing like a sexy siren, and she was like naked dancing behind leaves or feathers or something.
Feathers, yeah, or something like feathers or
Oh, now you get the Lower Decks reference,
right? The joke from Lower Decks.
When Rutherford does it.
And then at the end, so I started watching it about 8 o'clock. So probably about like 9:35, 9:40. I saw the blinding light of the alien, and I couldn't watch it. I was like, "Oh my god, this is unwatchable!" And
when
it
God
made me,
appears, you mean like it's like that blue light, right? Like it's just so intense.
it just and I don't know, the movie wasn't that good, and I was like, "Oh my god, unwatchable!" And it just seemed like it was just like a theme of the movie, just like unwatchable. But so but I this wasn't a good movie, but I did enjoy it.
I think that's a general consensus within Star Trek fans. It has a certain charm to it that I think works well for Trekkies. I don't think this is like not a movie that works for people that are like not invested in Star Trek, I think.
Also, I kept thinking, I was like, oh, like, were these groundbreaking effects for the late 80s?
They weren't actually. There's a lot of stories I think that we have to tell, but I think in particular they were on a budget for that too, and so they didn't go with ILM like they normally did. They went with another company or in-house or something like that, and so yeah, you could tell the effects are not the same. They're not the same quality as like Star Trek 4 or Star Trek 6. Like you
We
can
would
definitely
have to
tell.
confirm, but from what I understand, so this was William Shatner directing this, and from what I understand, I think he went a bit over budget or a bit like overboard in the beginning of the film, or like in the first kind of like sequences that he did, and so there came a point where they started kind of running out of like money, and so that he makes a joke about throwing rocks at a screen to do like the visual effects. At at some point there's just like rocks coming up in front of like a black background, and so I think that there's like they've run out of money basically, or at least the money was mismanaged in some capacity. So that's where the visual effects are kind of the score, like the music. I feel like carries this movie a lot of the time. I think the music is fantastic, and there's a lot of actually talking about Nemesis. There's a lot of like musical themes I think that kind of like inspired what Nemesis was. There's a lot of times where I'm hearing kind of like Nemesis adjacent kind of themes, I think.
The A Busy Man theme from Star Trek 5 appears in like numerous Star Trek soundtracks, and it's that dun 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 dun. That has appeared many times in Star Trek. So yeah.
Starbuck is
Afterwards.
also a very good mini villain, even though he's not really a villain at all. He's very sympathetic. I sense your pain. Share it with me.
That was the main reason we wanted you to watch it, though, Braxton. Right? Was
Cyborg.
because you saw the episode of Strange New Worlds with Cybok at the end, and so I wanted to make sure you knew who Cybok would become later on. So that's why I was suggesting that you watch it. But what do you think now of the Cybok character?
I'm gonna just go on a small little parenthesis here and say spoilers for Strange New Worlds, people, but don't worry about it. Like this show spoils everything that has come up. But yes, there is Cybok in Strange New Worlds. It is a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler because at this moment, like, we haven't even seen the face of the actor that they chose, or we didn't. I'm pretty convinced they just took Ethan Peck from behind, but I don't know if they actually cast someone.
The one Cybok. Well, I agree that Cybok wasn't cast when they made Serene Squall.
Yeah,
I don't think that Cybok is cast, but you think it's just Ethan Peck? Like, you think that's just like Ethan Peck's back?
Well, for that, if you were to just have him in that like one scene at one time, I think you just take just put Ethan Peck, and then you don't need to hire someone else. You know what I mean? But anyway, so miniature spoilers for Strange New Worlds. We have like a Cybok. It's almost more of a reference than it is an actual appearance at this point, like where I'm at in the show. So but yeah, Braxton, what were you asking him?
Oh no, I was just saying that Braxton, what do you think? What were your impressions of Cybok before Star Trek 5, and now what do you think of Cybok now that you've seen Star Trek 5? That's my question.
So before Strange New Worlds, 2 weeks ago, I had only really heard of Cybok in passing, like on Twitter. I had seen the art of the actor who played him in the movie, but I had never watched the movie. So the only connection I made from Strange New Worlds is like some messy hair. So Sabak was well acted by the actor who was cast in his role. He was really sympathetic, and I really loved how he said, "Oh, like I sense your pain, like share it with me." Like I felt like that was so beautiful. Like when he met that man who was like water harvesting at the beginning of the movie,
Yes,
and he was like,
on the
"Oh,
Star Wars planet."
Like I sense your pain, like share it with me." Like, you know what? Like I almost have tears in my eyes from like the way that man like dropped to his knees, dude. And he was so thankful. Like it reminded me of of like Pat Swaggart and like Jim Baker, like these like
Oh, these
evangelists,
charismatic. Yeah, yeah.
hmm
Oh,
and
very
how they like
interesting.
lay hands on people, and like the people are so. Sabak relieved people's burdens. He took like their burdens and their problems away from them, and that's why they were loyal to him. It was so beautiful. He's such a powerful telepath.
Mm.
So, are you excited now to meet him on Strange New Worlds and see what he was like in the past?
Oh my gosh, yes, dude,
It's
yeah.
gonna be good. It's gonna be good. In Star Trek V, he says to Spock, "You have a second chance to join me." So that means
Ooh.
Ooh.
there's a first chance.
Oh, oh my gosh,
That's what he says. Remember in that scene, he says,
I do.
"Yes." So that means we might see the first chance
Well,
play out.
it's actually good if they actually go with like a lot of cyborg storytelling over the seasons of Strange New Worlds as it comes out, which is I think one of the things that I want the most from Strange New Worlds. I think a lot of people want that too. I know that Jesse Jens is always fighting for cyborg as well. I think if they actually decide to do that, it's gonna give this movie so much more like emotional baggage when you come back to watch it.
That's the thing. I think it's going to enhance the movie for a lot of people. The more we get of Cybok, the more people are going to be curious and go watch Star Trek V. So I think that's going to be a good thing.
For those poor
Well,
people, but yeah.
for me, Star Trek V is, if you were to rank it in the entire list of Star Trek films, falls like right in the middle, slightly below. So like you saw this actually, Toddy, and you commented on this because my rank is number 1, the motion picture, number 2, Star Trek 6, number 3, Star Trek 3, number 4, Star Trek 2, number 5, Star Trek 4, then Generations, then First Contact, then Star Trek 5, then Nemesis, Insurrection, 2009, Beyond, and Into Darkness. That's my ranking of all the movies. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like
she's clutching her pearls.
He's got a generational disrespect. You might notice that, right?
What do you
Like
mean?
he's putting he's putting the Calvin timeline like way at the bottom. He's putting even TNG. He loves it to death, but he's just disrespecting it. He's putting it under the original series. I remember commenting that it was the only original series film that wasn't with the others. You had put it underneath the Next Generation.
Yes,
I think that's what.
I had to be fair. It's not as good as
First. Oh, Braxton like offended. He's offended. Look at him. Braxton's offended over Beyond, right?
But I'll tell you, I love this movie from the start because to me, one of the things that Star Trek, especially the original series, is
this
about
is not a better film than Beyond. You're wrong about that. Carry on.
It's about friendship. And I think it's fun that we have the three of us here right now. I mean, Father included, but we're kind of like right now we kind of represent Bones, Kirk, and Spock in a way. So I like that it's a trio for this podcast. Braxton, don't hug me in front of the Klingons, okay?
I don't want to be Bones, dude. Bones is so unlikable in this movie.
You would be the Kirk in this group. I think that I think I would be Bones, and we could make Toddy Spock.
How am I Spock?
Fine, you can be Kirk, and then Braxton can be Spock, and I'll be McCoy.
Let's just all be Cyborg for this.
Let's all be Cyborg. Wait, you really thought Bones was awful in this movie? That's funny. Like,
oh yeah, he so like he's a doctor, so he was like worrying about Kurt being on the mountain phase, but I feel like one of the big things that he does early is that he, says something racist to Spock about, oh, you green-blooded Vulcan, and then he was talking about like his like old food that his father, had taught him how to make, and I was thinking about how much I hate like old Southern racist things. I just don't value them. And I don't know, like he just seemed like such a relic and like such a dinosaur.
Oh wow!
And
say that.
And I really did not enjoy that. And then also he looked so like old and skinny. I'm like, dude, you should not be on a mission. You need to be like somewhere home, hanging out in an apartment, maybe going for walks, but you don't need to be out there like on a mission, dude. Like you're too old and you're too frail.
Well, that comes
Scotty,
into play in Star Trek
Scotty just
6.
fat as hell. I'm surprised. I am surprised that he could fit through like any of the doors, dude. Like going through sideways, dude.
Scotty did gain a lot of weight from the last time you saw him. It's true.
I hate
does.
the scene where Scotty hits his head against the ship so much. I loathe it. I'm like, fuck this shit. Like, this is this what Star Trek has become? Scotty
Well-
hitting his head on the ship.
Well, just to put in the context, Star Trek 5 came out June 9th, 1989 in the United States. And that was this month. How many years ago? How many years ago was 1989?
23 years ago.
23 years ago.
I mean, to be fair, this episode will be airing on the 1st of July here, but
it has
Or was
to
it
be
33 years ago, dude?
It has to be 33. Wait, hold on. Hey Siri, how long ago was 1989?
It was 32 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That makes more sense because I was very young when I went. I was gonna say I wasn't like in my 20s when I saw this movie. So yeah, that makes sense. But I remember that same year, maybe even that same month, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade came out. So it was a big time for movies. And Star Trek 5 was a letdown compared to Star Trek 4. I agree with that. Like when I liked it, but I didn't love it like when I was a kid. But it had some cool things. Like it did bring in some really neat things. Like, I think that shuttle landing in the docking bay, crash landing in the docking bay is a very exciting scene. I think the whole, like you said, Sybok is a very compelling character and like a very interesting, like that was like the first time we'd seen a Vulcan act the way that Sybok does, rejecting logic and like, even acting more human, I think, than
as
Spock.
obvious as it is, like in the way it's directed in the beginning, I think it's very well done. Where like they reveal that he's a Vulcan, and you can clearly see that like the actor's showing his ear to the camera, but they're making it very obvious that he's a Vulcan, and then he goes into his hysterical laughing there. He's like laughing, and so it is kind of like shocking. You're like, oh, he's a Vulcan, but he's laughing because at this point they haven't yet exposed who he is. They haven't given you like the background on who the character is, how he's rejected logic, that kind of stuff. So it is kind of like intriguing how they own the movie, I find.
Yeah, totally. And, I think that the movie is very, I think a lot of people criticize William Shatner's directing and say that the movie's like, should be at the bottom of the list, but I don't think so. I think it's a middle of the road. I think it's a very middle of the road. Like,
it's on the bottom of my list. I'm gonna be honest.
I do not agree with your assessment, Starfleet boys. It is at the bottom.
That being said, it's bottom of the list, but as we were saying, I think it's very charming and I enjoy it, and I think it's very endearing. There's like two sides of it. There's one side that is all about the friendship and like the camaraderie between our three characters, and I think it's wonderful. And then everything that concerns Sybok, I honestly think Sybok is a very, very, very interesting character. I think Sybok is a great addition to like the Star Trek universe, and I think that him and the actor carry this movie throughout. Like just
especially when I found out
the performance, it's so good.
And especially when you find out Sean Connery was up for the role of Sybok originally. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but someone told me that Shakari is a play on Sean Connery to like kind of like do that, But yeah, Lawrence Luckinbill is the name of the actor, and he is superb as Sybok. I agree with that. But aside from that, I think the core thing about this for me was, Star Trek 2, 3, they're really intense. Star Trek 4 is lighthearted, and then Star Trek 5 kind of gets us back into. It's not quite intense, but it's also like it's like a nice balance of I think action and like seriousness, but with lightheartedness thrown in there. There's a lot of humor in it and stuff like that, and I think the jokes really work well. The banter between the main characters, Spock. Sorry, the banter between Spock, Scotty, and McCoy works really well for me. I loved like the whole family aspect of it, and like the whole, I thought you said men like us don't have families, and Captain Kirk saying I was wrong, straight up saying like I was wrong at the end, and those are just like nice little arcs.
Shatner does some very good acting in this film. I think that he has some solid acting, and
Yeah, I
Shatner has a
agree.
solid speech too. Like Kirk, like I think the pacing of the movie kind of like slows down at some point. And around the time where like Cyborg is showing them their past or taking away their pain. But I think that like Kirk has this kind of breakdown where he's like, I need my pain, it's like, don't take away my pain. My pain is who I am, and like that
It was very,
it's intense, and I love it. I love that scene.
It was also very influential to me personally because I think I'm not going to, pain is relative, right? Like everyone suffers differently. But I remember as a young kid being like, yeah, like hold on to use the pain to like succeed, like use your angst.
That's the Star Wars fan
like,
in you.
Like, no, well, just like use, like use the angst or like your pain, the thing, your struggle, and use it to like help you and like make you stronger and stuff like that. And I always thought that was a good message because it's true. Like you have to kind of earn a way, you have to kind of work at it. You know what I mean? Like someone coming along and like waving a magic hand or like using psychic powers to take away your struggles and your pains. It works in like an immediate sense, like the way medication might or alcohol or whatever, but it can't be permanent. Like eventually that'll come and catch up with you. And that's where Cybok was really a charlatan. You know what I mean? Like he was offering like not a permanent thing. He was saying like, release your pain and all this stuff. But it was like, you're not really releasing it. You're just kind of open about it, which is a good thing too, is to like let it out. Like I agree about that, but it doesn't really go away. And then he had, Cybok's just a very interesting character. I don't know. We can talk more about that. But I do want to point out something. In the beginning, you were talking about Braxton, the free climbing El Capitan. Alex Honnold, A Human Alive Today. It took Star Trek came out in 1989, and they showed a person free climbing Mount El Capitan, and Spock even says the record of free climbing El Capitan is in no danger of being broken. And at that time, no one had free climbed El Capitan. No human had done it. But now, as of like last year or the year before, this young man, Alex Honnold, has actually free climbed Mount El Capitan. So I thought that was really cool because in my head now, it's like, oh, the record belongs to him. And it still does, like in Star Trek. But Star Trek had predicted that someone, it's an easy prediction to make, but Star Trek had predicted and put on screen that someone would free climb El Capitan, and I always thought that was pretty cool. And then personally, I like the Scotty and Uhura relationship more than Spock and Uhura. Personally, I think the Scotty Uhura thing works a lot better than the Spock and Uhura thing. Personally,
I mean, at least are you? So at least in like the in the newer movies, they're like at least they're like younger and hot. They're not like
dang, like, Braxton.
Dude, I don't know, dude. Like that just hit me out of nowhere. I was like, oh, dude, like where did that relationship come from?
Because
like,
it comes out of nowhere, right? It's because there's nothing. It just appears.
Mm-hmm.
Like Scotty's always been completely in love with the ship, right? That's what he wants. Sometimes
he's had interest in women here and there,
some now and then, but that's not, And then Uhura's never really looked or talked to Scotty in that manner at all. Whereas like she would do like, I guess the other woman on the crew, they would kind of tease Spock, but like no one's ever gone down to engineering and flirted with Scotty. So it was kind of weird just all of a sudden,
I like it because, these are older people and they're showing an older romance, and I think it's really cool, and it's like a workplace romance too, and I like that about it as well. And the other thing I like,
it didn't last too long. I don't think it carries on into Star Trek 6.
It does not. It's true.
They saw how bad it was.
Dang. It's like no.
Oh, these actors have zero romantic chemistry. This does not work.
No, Uhura was like, I can't be with a man that doesn't know like the layout of his ship. Like I can't be with a man that hits his head on the ship. I just can't.
This movie actually stuck with me more than I thought. So this afternoon, I was riding home, and I was thinking that I need to tell my little brother.
Oh, Braxton completely froze. You'll have to edit. Sorry.
That's fine. I was waiting. I was like, am I the one? Is it my internet that's lagging on my end, or what is it?
Oh, he's like completely frozen.
Braxton, you're gone. You've gone
Like
through
if the
nebula.
audience could see, audience you can't see because it's not video for you, but we are looking at Braxton looking very contemplating.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
was about to say something really juicy too.
Is
He
this,
was
is this,
about to
is this
tell.
the, is this the David position?
Oh yeah, no, it's the
The thinker, is it?
the
was it?
thinker. Yes, it is the thinker. The sitting, like when he's
And
like
it
sitting.
works too because he's got like the body for it, right?
Yeah, Braxton does have a good body. It's true. Good physique. Oh,
He's gone.
we
He's
lost.
gone
Now he's
completely.
gone completely.
He'll have to
So
restart his entire train
we'll
of
have to
thought.
ask him about what he was going to tell his brother when he gets back. And then with the magic of editing, you might not even know he was gone. Who knows? Who knows, audience? What is going to be what Toddy's going to leave behind, and what he's gonna edit out.
Well, I can say something that's kind of fun while we wait for him to come back. I saw the rope, like the visual effects. I think it's the cord or the rope of when like Kirk was falling off his rock face there, off his cliff.
Oh, you did? You could see it?
I could actually see it. Like, yeah.
Oh, I've seen that movie like 30 times and I've never noticed it, so I got to go back and see now. You guys are way better at catching these little movie magic things than I am.
Well, did you know the famous one where they're going up the dicks and they go like past dick 54 or whatever it is, and then 78
it's like
and
70
54
something.
again,
Yeah, it's like, what the hell is this? Like, what the heck is this? This ship only has like 20 something decks, I think, right?
Yeah, but they go past the same one like twice or whatever.
Oh, yeah, Braxton's back.
Whoa, dude. So
yeah, what happened
my
to your internet?
totally crapped out on me.
Oh, wow.
Like,
you
so
sound
now
way
I'm just...
crisper now. You sound like, you look like HD and you sound crisp.
Oh, really? Okay. So, well, I'm using my phone, so I'm on LTE now,
Ooh.
and my Pixel has a better camera than my Galaxy Tab, I guess.
Yeah, right on. So you were gonna, where we left off is you were like, this movie lingered with you, and you wanted to tell your brother something, and then that's when the internet decided to cut off. So
the suspense is killing us.
Yeah.
I think it's because so my parents are like, I come from a military family. My parents are very reserved. We don't talk about our issues and stuff, and so me and my brothers are the same way, and we are people who have secrets, and so when he was like, oh, like, I sense your pain, like, share it with me. And it just made me think over the last like 24 hours, the things that I don't share with people. Like, like I was saying, like something that my mother had told me that I hadn't shared with my little brothers. Like, it's not like some like huge, like earth shattering thing. It's just like an interesting thing. But I have not shared it with my brothers just because, I'm the person that my parents raised me to be, and my parents are people who hold a lot back, and so do I, and just like, some things are difficult to say, and just imagine if like, you could like, you were approached by this man, and he was like, oh, I sense your pain, like, share it with me, and you like don't even have to say it. He just like knows your thought. He knows what that pain is, and he can like take that from you. I just felt that was so
very
powerful.
Compelling. It's true. It's true. It is very. He's one of the most original Star Trek antagonists too. Like, he's very different. Like he's not like your typical, mustache twirling type of villain that only has one dimension. He has a lot of dimensions, and you can actually feel, like what you said, like sympathy for his cause. You kind of want him to find Shakari, and when he discovers that it's not what it was supposed to be, that his god turns out to be just another alien that's trapped on a prison.
Another con man, a higher level con man.
A higher level of con man, exactly. Actually, that's a good point. It's heartbreaking because you're like, oh man, you're really disappointed for him, and then you realize he's like, wow, I went all the way for you and I was wrong, and then he sacrifices himself to save the others.
That's what sells it, right?
Yeah,
that's what makes him different, because like you can have antagonists that are like him and kind of nuanced, but in the end, like the antagonist is kind of still driven mad, whereas Cybok kind of, I suppose, either he comes back to
He
his
actually
senses,
comes to his senses. It's the opposite,
or he
right? Yeah.
never really lost his senses in the first place. He's like, no, you know what? Like, as much as this is important to me, like my quest for Shakari, I want to find God, whatever it is. Like at the end, you're hurting my friends, and you're not being, the person or the individual that I built you up to be. Like you're supposed to be better than that. And so yeah, he sacrifices himself and fights off the what is he, God? What is he? Just the alien, the presence? But yeah, I think he's really
Exactly.
interesting in that sense. And I would like it for new Star Trek films to try and deliver like that kind of antagonist. An antagonist that isn't just a villain trying to like steal like a resource from someone, or that isn't trying to like get revenge or something like that.
I was just thinking, like, you see how charismatic Starbuck is. I was thinking that maybe he, like, did that to Captain Angel, and that's why, like, Captain Angel, like, is so dedicated to him that, like, he approached it. He was like, "Oh, like, I sense your pain. Like, share it with me."
Oh
And
yeah.
then
I
he,
don't
like,
know.
took
I
her
don't know that
burden.
He's
he might
not
have done
there
that.
yet.
Yeah.
He's not there yet in his travels, I guess, in his trajectory.
Dude,
Yeah.
like the people who, like, are like peddling this, these evangelists who are like peddling this stuff in their 60s and 70s, they were still believing it in their 20s. It was just like evolving and stuff.
Hmm.
I was watching the Tammy Faye Baker movie, and like, she came up that way. Like, she was like a real religious, like, 16-year-old. That
That's
was
a
a
really
really
good
good
point.
movie
And
because she
he
was
is in
wearing makeup and
prison.
people would call her a harlot.
That's an interesting point. And he is in prison for rejecting logic. He's in that rehab facility that T'Pring runs. So we might see some of that. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see more of him. And again, with Jesse James Keitel, his character, Captain Angel, because I wonder how much Captain Angel influenced Cybok and how much Cybok influenced Captain Angel. And then my question for you guys is, what happened to Captain Angel? He must have lost her at some point.
She's a pirate. I feel like pirates many times don't live long lives. Like, people who
That's true.
run around doing heists and stealing, that is just you're not going to live a long life doing that. Life of
That's
crime.
true.
She's
Fair
not.
enough.
She's not going to be in her 70s.
There's an inconsistency in I think it's the movie, because in the beginning they talk about how he was banished, or maybe it's not an inconsistency, but they say that he's banished from Vulcan for rejecting the ways and for being, Spock also mentions that he left Vulcan in search of Shakari. So like, did he leave and then he was banished while he was gone? Because when someone says banished, I imagine someone like forcefully throwing him off, right? Like I imagine someone getting thrown out a window. But like, maybe he left and then they like put the ban on after. They said you can no longer come back. Are you looking it up? What's going on?
I was actually
Trying to figure out the timeline of events here. No, but I was like, it was a bit bizarre how they said that, like, at first he was banished, and then they talk about his quest for Shakari. So I don't know if the quest came in like before his banishment or if it came after. Perhaps it was like once he was banished from his home, and once like no one wanted to listen to his teachings, he was perhaps lost for a while, and then he found his purpose like in a dream afterward. And then that's why he went on his big old quest there. But I don't know.
I think it's going to come into play in Strange New Worlds. I think they're going to show us how he. I think that's going to be the thing. Is that, like, my impression is that whatever, it's like what Braxton said. He's probably been doing this for a long time, because, again, he says this is your second chance to join me, to Spock. So it means he's been doing it for a long time. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a big story. I think they're going to use Cybok on Strange New Worlds to tell a bigger story, or at least there's the potential to, about logic and punishing people who don't study. You know, like I think there's going to be some turmoil. We might even go to Vulcan.
They could use it to finally better explore the logic extremists that we hear about, like sometimes in Enterprise and sometimes in Discovery. And they come back now and then. Like we talk about these logic extremists.
Yeah.
And they could use that as like I guess like Cybok and his followers represent the inverse of like the logic extremists. And so they could kind of like parallel those two things in the show. If they do that, that could be interesting.
Yeah, actually, it'd be if like, yeah, because they're the opposite, right? Because they're like rejecting logic. So yeah, that is interesting. Like, it is an interesting idea. It'd be neat if like he's controversial because rejecting logic to a Vulcan can be physically damaging as well as mentally.
Yeah.
Like it'd be neat to see that like embracing emotions actually hurts Vulcans, because I think they established
that. Oh my god, she kills her. He kills her, sorry. Captain Angel.
Why? Why would he kill her?
Because he, in his quest to like kind of like not embrace the logic and embrace his emotions, he forgets that how unstable and extreme the emotions of Vulcans can become. And at one point, like he kills her because that would break.
Well, she already
he would re-become super logical, I guess, after doing.
Yeah, and also she already says like my husband rejected Kulinar. You know, he's already well into. I'm saying his methods might be different at this point, and it doesn't work on every Vulcan. And it might be interesting to see, and it would also be interesting if the inspiration for Cybok, who's a pure Vulcan, not only that, he's a prince, mind you. He was born to a Vulcan princess. I didn't know Vulcans had princesses, but apparently they do. And
maybe they're symbolic ones.
Yeah. But regardless, he's like a noble, highborn, if you will. You're making fun of my hands.
No, I'm saying he's some high-standing citizen, right? He's like a he's like a Vulcan blue blood.
It'd be neat if Spock being half human is what inspired Cybok, perhaps, to reject logic, whereas Spock instead chooses to embrace it, which is interesting.
God, Sarek and his kids, right?
They're all rebels. Sarek's kids are like, they're so disruptive.
So as I was mentioning to you, Sohail, earlier today, the death of Cybok and Spock's like dealing of it, I think resonated even more like for me watching this after Discovery, because now we know that Spock has also lost Michael Burnham, and like he knows she's alive, or at least like I guess he hopes that she made it into the future and that she's carrying on and living on, but technically he lost his sister. And he can like never really speak of her ever again. So that's a pain that he can't speak of. The fact that he lost like his sister, and then in this movie he's losing his brother. Like his Cybok dies, and so I don't know. Like there's that scene where they film him and he's kind of like reflecting, and I guess he is emotionally distraught as much as like Spock can be. And I couldn't help but read into it that he was also thinking about Michael in that scene. And I think that as the show progresses, like as Strange New Worlds progresses, just as we were saying before, and just like Discovery like further informs this movie, I think it'll just help this movie grow and grow emotionally speaking.
Yeah, I agree that Star Trek Discovery kind of enhances Star Trek V with Michael Burnham. Like it's definitely something that I think about when I watch Star Trek V now. Is I like think, oh, Spock, like what you said, Spock must be thinking of Michael and remembering the past in this moment. And that's like now those moments where Leonard Nimoy decides to be like, you know, thoughtful or contemplative. Like now they have a different like, you know, way that you can look at them. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And now, yeah, like what you said, Strange New Worlds is going to make Cybok a thing. That's you know, it's going to make Cybok a little more complex and a little more interesting, which I think is great.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where they go with Cybok. So I'm reading the room as like they carry on with Cybok here. But I'm excited to see what they do with that. Because I think it's really one of the great characters that came out of these TOS era movies.
Oh, you call it TOS.
Yeah, sometimes.
You can't even be bothered to say TOS.
Sometimes.
Just TOS.
Toss.
Hello.
I have no
You
problem. I have no
You
problem
say
with the Klingons.
Tinig, Ting, or
No, I
Ting,
don't say that.
Ting, or you do say voy. I've heard you say voy.
I say voy sometimes. I say toss, test, and voy sometimes. Yeah, granted. No, I think the Klingons were fine in this movie. I do feel
I
like
just
they
found
were
out that
kinda
in 1989 they were still doing brown face on actors because I didn't know the main Klingon, the captain, is a very white actor, and they put makeup on him. So that was kind of weird. I just found that out today. Did you guys know that?
I didn't.
I mean, didn't the Klingons do the same thing? And didn't they make up the
TNG?
Klingons the same way in TNG?
I thought by TNG they were casting dark-skinned actors. I'm trying to think of what Klingons in TNG, and even by Star Trek.
Does that qualify as like blackface and brownface?
Yeah.
Because it's an alien.
Oh.
No, I'm just asking. I don't.
Well, so Star Trek, it does only because of this. Star Trek used to make everyone.
Not
Star Trek used to have this bad.
Right?
Star Trek used to have this bad habit of just making mono aliens. Like everyone looks the freaking same, right?
Mm.
In Star Trek, I know it's they were doing it out of laziness, because in Star Trek 6 you have all different shades of Klingon in their skin tones. And I think even in Star Trek 5, the lady was lighter skinned than maybe. So I think the whole making someone, they should have just cast a black actor, in my opinion, or a brown
or make
actor.
the Klingon white, I guess.
Or make the Klingon white. Exactly.
If you cast the white guy, then just.
But if you need to have a skin tone, if it's important to the story for whatever reason, cast someone with that skin tone is generally the rule today. I guess 1989 is the end of where you can not forgive it, but you can be like, whoa, it was 1989. But thank goodness no one does that anymore, except for Robert Downey Jr., who did it. And that was the only last time I ever saw it.
When you do full prosthetic makeup like Klingons, like they did in Discovery, it's then also a bit different though, because it's like a full, what is it, silicone or whatever it is, cover up.
Well, and to Discovery's credit, I mean, they made tones that don't exist in humans. Like there's Klingons that look bluish.
Lorella's grayish, right?
Grayish, yeah. And so, yeah, that makes sense. But again, Discovery did a good thing with. Yeah, we always end up talking about Klingons. It's so funny, but
everything leads to Discovery Klingons.
The freaking Klingons in Discovery. As much as I didn't like the crustacean design, like the more like aquatic design to the Klingons, I do give them a lot of credit for expanding the way Klingons, like the diversity of Klingons and their skin tones and all that stuff. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that. I think that making the Klingons up like they were like before like in the 90s shows and like previously, I thought that would be problematic in today's social climate. And so that's probably one of the reasons why they decided to make them look so alien with all the prosthetics. But I enjoyed, the long head stuff was weird. All the Discovery Klingons needed from me was hair.
Yeah, and they did it in season 2, and they look great. Actually, it's true. It's a good point.
Yeah, I think I'm totally cool with them. And I thought that Takuma looked so cool. Like he was like so really dark cool. And like Takuma looked so cool, dude.
I agree. I will say one thing: Takuma and like Chris Obi's Takuma is like one of the most, I think, charismatic Klingons that has been, especially for like a Klingon that's like barely on screen for only a couple episodes, right? Like he doesn't last long. But
Captain Claw, who's the Klingon here, I always thought his forehead was cool. Like he has a very different forehead ridge from other Klingons. It's very tight and like he looks
the little lumps.
little lumps and stuff like that. He looks a lot like Chang, the Christopher Plummer's character to me. But also I loved his hair. Speaking of hair, he had like big hair. And his chest showed like Khan's. Like he didn't wear like an undergarment, he just showed his chest. I thought he was a very sexy Klingon. I remember thinking, oh,
So
these, and her too, the female Klingon's very sexy as well.
Klingon women always have their breasts out.
Yeah, it's true. They just have
Look at B'Etor and
Lursa. It's true.
B'Etor and Lursa. Dude, so here's the thing, dude. What Klingons apologize when Spock was like, "Oh, don't hug me, not in front of the Klingons." Dude, those Klingons are patsies. Those Klingons were just sitting here apologizing and kissing Federation ass. Those are no Klingons that we know. Or those are not the Klingons that I know. I've never been introduced to those Klingons.
It is true. They were very well, it's because that general so that might be
well, so here's what's interesting and kind of ironic. I feel like the three consults, the three representatives of the three species, right, or the three organizations. You have like a Romulan, you got the Romulan lady, you got the Klingon dude, and then you got the Federation guy. I feel like they misrepresent their respective like communities so much. Like the Federation guy, he's like, I don't know, is he like drunk and like he's just a dude bro, and he's got like, I don't know, he's not sitting up straight, he's not speaking formally, he doesn't represent.
His name is St. John Tolbert, but they call him St. John, which is really weird. And I think that
represent Starfleet's finest. You know, he's not.
I think what you missed is that like they aren't supposed to be. They're all supposed to be a little bit washed up. And the Romulan is the only one. She's like brand new to the assignment, so I guess like her predecessor retired or something like that. So she's like ready to go, and like she's so excited. And then she walks in and she has this like tired Klingon and a tired Terran, and they're like, "Welcome to Nimbus 3. It's actually a shithole. It's not like anything like you think it is.
It ain't no galactic peace.
It ain't no galactic peace. There's nothing. It's just like it's a gesture. It's like, and I like that actually. I like this is the first time in Star Trek I think we see this kind of like idea that maybe, I don't want to say it's the first time,
they
but
break
it's an
the
instance.
mold a bit. I see what you mean.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And so I like that. I like that there was a bitter kind of sarcastic or cynical is the better word. I think I like the cynicalness, and like even the Klingon ambassador, he's just like totally like all he wants is food and sex. Like that's the only thing he's interested in, and he gives no F's. And I like that at the end where Spock is like, no, God damn it, you will order the other Klingon to do this. And so it wakes him up a little bit. I like that. That was like a really good moment to give a side character a little bit of an arc. I thought that was pretty cool. The Romulan character, she was just like a 90s girl. Like her outfit was very 90s, right? Like it didn't like, and she kind of surprised me. She was different from how I imagined Romulans. Like I feel like Picard has done a really good job of like shaping what a Romulan is. Before this, they were either very like, Shakespearean, or they were like, where'd they come up with this Valley Girl Romulan? Like, she was very Valley Girl to me. Like she wasn't like what I expected at all. So I liked her. Again, I like that what I was saying, like they broke the mold a little bit, like they shook it up, so it was neat. Did they succeed? Maybe not, but they tried, which I appreciate.
Well, most of that feels like a Star Wars movie to me, like most of what happens on Nimbus 3.
What about it seems very Star Wars to you?
I think like the general like ambiance of the place feels kind of like backward, kind of like sand planet that we would have on Star Wars. And then this is a new thing that hit me, because this is the first time I've watched this movie after seeing the Halo show. The attack on Paradise City, for some reason, gave me like flashes of the initial attack of that little city in the Halo show and like the Halo pilot. where the Covenant attack that little city in the middle of the
it's like a
desert
walled-in fortress city.
Yeah, I got like little flashes of that. It reminded me of that for some reason.
That's really legit. I could see that actually, but I mean, it is pretty good
The
in
way the
terms of.
weapons is I think the weapons they have also, because like they have all of these makeshift weapons that they explain in the movie, but they
Yeah.
have all of these makeshift weapons which are like, they kind of look like homemade blasters instead of being the traditional kind of like factory made phases that we have in like Starfleet or what have you. So that all contributes to like I think a general more like Star Warsy feel than a Star Trek one. And then of course you have like a fan dance for some reason. I find it a little cringe that everyone like kind of crawls up the dunes there, and then that's how they get captured. I'm just like, oh no, I don't know about that.
That's the very first thirst trap ever, and it like it worked.
It's super effective.
We've seen on the internet time and time again how much thirst there is out there, Toddy. I can't believe you don't buy that scene.
Is this a catfish?
No, Uhura's not a catfish. Uhura's a catch. She is she's the big fish.
Baby. A catfish would be like that. It's not Uhura. It's like a catfish would be a hologram, maybe.
No, a catfish would be like you go up thinking it's going to be Uhura, and then it's Spock. No, legit. That's what a catfish scenario would be. Is like Spock is pretending to be.
Doesn't a hologram count? Like, you think it's a real Uhura?
Not in Star Trek, because holograms are just as good as people.
Oh, Minuet. I'm sorry, Quark.
Minuet is a great example of a hologram that comes across as very realistic.
Do you think Riker would have dragged himself across the dunes with the other dudes?
Riker would have been the one doing the fan dance.
Oh, I see.
This was a TNG.
Fair enough.
If this was a TNG thing, no, who would? If this was TNG, would it be Troy or would it be Crusher who would do the fan dance, or would it be Riker? I think it would be Riker. I'm gonna stick to my guns on the Riker. It would be Riker. He'd wear like skimpy shorts.
No, I think the plan would be to have Troy do it, but then like for comedic purposes, it would go wrong, and they would force the dancing doctor to do it.
Or they both do it. They can both do it. It's true. But this was pretty racy for Star Trek because you basically kind of see up her leg a little high, and you can see like contours of Nichelle Nichols' beautiful supple butt. So I thought that was pretty. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, "We're seeing way too much." Like,
this is why Scotty didn't stay with her. He was like, "You can't be dancing."
No, Scotty loves it.
It's like that.
No, Scotty loves it. He's like,
yeah, but he's like,
could you do a fan dance for me, Lassie? Could you do can we do that again?
No, he's like, I cannot have you dancing for others. You only can dance for me.
No, Scotty's not like that. Not old Scotty. Young Scotty was definitely like that.
Okay.
Not
old Scotty's more open.
Yeah, he's like he's grown, he's like a little bit different. Speaking of Scotty and Uhura, that's the other kudos that I have to give to Star Trek V is it just feels like we spend more time with Uhura and Scotty and Chekhov even. Sulu, I think, is the only one who's kind of sidelined, but that's okay because he gets a lot of moments like in Star Trek VI especially. But in this movie, I feel like, for all its failings, it really did a good job of bringing in some other characters and giving them more to do. Like Uhura does have that fan dance, but then she has all these other parts, with the communications and like in the beginning when she's going to go get everybody, when she has to go down to the planet to Earth and get everybody, and Chekhov gets to be Captain Chekhov. Like that was a really great moment for him, and like that's something I think like up until now Chekhov's been kind of just a background character. No offense, but like he hasn't had very great moments in the films, other than his hand getting burnt or like a creature going into it, just him screaming basically, and stuff like that. So I think this was nice to give these other characters some good moments, and they're memorable moments. The fan dance is just one of them, but we have Scotty breaking them out of prison. I know not everyone likes that scene, but it is funny that he hits his head on the thing and he gets knocked out, things like that. I guess Sulu and Chekhov also have that group moment. They're a buddy, they're like buddies, and they're like trying to cover for each other, and they're like doing the, in the beginning, and they're doing like the wind sounds or whatever, and then Uhura's like, I don't know, the sensors say it's clear skies, and they're like, oh, he's like, look, Sulu, the clouds went away magically, like it's just like, so I have to give Star Trek V another kudos because you do get a little bit, it feels a little more balanced. I haven't done the math to see how much screen time they've gotten in other movies, but it just feels like they got more to do in this movie.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. That whole scene where he's like blowing into the communicator, that's a bit like, is it campy? What is it? Is it?
Yeah, I would say that's a good example of camp.
But it has its charm. It's nice. It's fun because it feels like they get along and they're really friends and family at this point. You know what I mean? It's more than just a crew, and that really comes across when watching the scenes.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then in Star Trek VI, they all hate each other, and they are like, "Why are we back together?" No, I'm just kidding. They don't actually hate each other, but it's true. I did think this movie was marketed as what was going to be the last adventure, which I feel like they kept doing that. They've been doing that since like Star Trek 2. Like every Star Trek's like, this is the last Star Trek or whatever, right? But this movie was, I remember, marketed as perhaps their final journey. And I will say I'm glad it wasn't. Like to me this feels like it would have felt like they needed more. And they did. Star Trek VI, the original crew of the original series cast and crew, I think are the only ones so far that gotten a proper send off. I think we're about to get it.
We're going to get the TNG.
I think we're gonna get that for the TNG crew. Yes. But up until now, no other crew has gotten to say goodbye quite like the original series crew.
Do you think that the final episode of Picard season 3 will have all of the signatures?
I don't want to say it better because Terry Matalas can do whatever he wants, but I have a feeling we'll get the signatures.
We can tweet at him. We can tell him it better.
I don't want to. He blocks liberally. I don't want him to block me. He's a liberal blocker. So I don't. If you look at him the wrong way, he might block you. He might listen to this and then block me just from this. No. So
Brent Spiner is the liberal blocker too, I think.
I've never been blocked so far. Knock on wood. No Star Trek producers, directors, writers, or I've never annoyed anyone in Star Trek.
I always want to tease Shatner and like say something.
Oh, he'll block you.
No, but I always want to like quote you as like saying something.
No, don't you dare.
I'm not gonna do that because he's gonna block us both immediately and it'll be the end.
Don't you dare tag me in anything with Shatner, because if you do, I will. And if he blocks me, I'll hate you forever. You'll have to really make up for. You'll have to like figure it out.
Have to find a way to meet him and unblock him.
I drew a now we're off topic completely here.
Well,
so
we're gonna end it anyway.
Okay, but I drew a picture of William Shatner and he liked it, and a lot of people, just by him liking it, a shit ton of people liked it. He didn't even tweet it, or he didn't even retweet it or anything, but like
people
just him
see his likes,
yeah, those magic, the Shatner boost. So I'd rather get the boost, not the boot. Last thing I want to say on the Star Trek V subject is I 100% think Star Trek V should get a director's cut if William Shatner is interested in doing it. I think it would be so cool to, especially with the way how cheap technology has become, they could go back and reshoot some of the visuals and really enhance the film to the at least to bring it up to the standard that the other films are at, because there is a noticeable difference in the standard of visuals in Star Trek of the Star Trek films with the original series cast. Star Trek V looks the most TV of those films.
I think that William Shatner's shame needs to remain for how poorly he directed this film and how poorly it was produced.
Oh my God, we're gonna get the block, Braxton.
He shouldn't get a second chance.
I think he should.
Everyone gets a second chance,
Everyone
right?
should get a second chance, Braxton.
Well, not in every context, but perhaps
Yeah.
in directing a film. You're
In
allowed to get
directing a
second
film.
chance. That's
No,
what
I
I'm
just think
saying.
if it's in his heart, if he has feelings about it, and if he wants to do it, I think it'd be great. I think it'd be a neat thing to elevate that film, because they had really ambitious ideas for the film. There's a whole scene with like rock aliens that never got made because they couldn't do it. Like when they went to Shakari, I think there were supposed to be like aliens that were made of rocks.
I missed out on rock
yeah.
aliens. God.
Rock
Mhm.
aliens, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, rock alien. Yeah.
Braxton's like, oh yeah.
God. He's so convinced. You can see it. You can see it. Braxton is the worst person you'd want to pitch your new show to, right?
But he's the
Yeah,
best.
Braxton,
'Cause you'd have to really think
this new
about it.
show. There's rock aliens.
Rock aliens.
Okay, rock aliens.
Right.
I
okay.
think we can see the next person now.
Oh, I don't have a meeting, but this one's over. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
I don't have another evening meeting, but this one's finished.
I
Braxton's like,
think
I
we
don't
can
have
come
another
back
podcast.
next pitch season. Okay.
but no, I'm in earnest. I think it needs to be given a director's cut. And it's sad because we don't have any of the other directors alive from the original series movies. So I think it would be nice if Shatner got a chance to do that, because Leonard Nimoy passed away. He directed Star Trek 3 and 4. Oh no, we do have Nicholas Meyer, but he already got a director's cut, and so did Robert Wise. So yeah.
What are your final thoughts, Braxton, on the film?
So, pardon me. So, I don't think this is a good film, but I was entertained. I feel enriched by having met Cybok. Like when I think of this movie, like, I always remember, I sense your pain, share it with me. So,
I love it.
I am enriched by that. I am also enriched by seeing the three-breasted Catwoman. Like you saw her dancing, and then later, she's lying in wait. She attacks Kirk. She makes that wretched noise.
Did your cats react to
She gets owned. She gets thrown into the
water?
the wet pool table.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was like, why wouldn't she just emerge out of there and keep attacking? They just
water, yo.
submerged her in a fishbowl, and then she was just knocked out. Okay, well, whatever. But also when I think of this movie, I'll think of. I mean, it could just be because I was watching it in a very dark room, but I actually found it appalling how bright the alien.
Imagine how it was in the movie theater. Imagine in the movie theater, you're like, everything's dark, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, it's true.
Dude, awesome. I was watching it like this. I had put a couple of hands, I spread my fingers so that I could see just a little bit.
I think your eyes might have been dry, Braxton. You might have needed some eye drops.
I don't know. Maybe it's just my older eyes now that are very sensitive to the light, but I just found it appalling. And when I was watching it after 90 seconds of it, I was just like, you know what? This is unwatchable. And I was thinking that maybe it's just that's just a thing about the film. It's actually unwatchable. But I did find it I did enjoy it, and thank you for introducing me to Starbucks. So I'm thankful for that. So thanks, God.
I love it. Yay.
Yeah, awesome.
What other TOS movies have you seen? Only Star Trek 2? Star Trek the Motion Picture? Have you seen any of them?
I think I've seen them on USA and TNT. But never with the intention of sitting down to actually watch a TOS movie. Because I told you that I don't appreciate TOS at all. Zero. Not at all. Even a little bit.
Does this?
So I wouldn't go in search of one.
Does this make you want to see?
No,
does this want to make you see any of? You haven't seen the one with the whales? You have to have seen that one more intentionally. Maybe. Wow, we gotta
But
do a whole series with Braxton.
this is interesting because
I love it.
you don't like TOS, and this is an interesting film in that respect because at least you're not like you do focus on like the TOS crew, and like we said, they get some screen time, but a lot of the bulk of like the character like stories are driven by Cyborg. And
Yeah,
it's about Cyborg, and it's about like Cyborg's relation to like his quest and to Spock. And so it's interesting. So you get to see a TOS movie, but it's not so much about them. It's about this new character that you're now introduced to. So I guess that's what you get out of it, right?
I just want to see and talk about all the original series movies with Braxton now.
Oh, you want to have like first reaction?
Oh my
I
god!
want to get
You know what?
first reactions on
The
all
movie
his...
offered us foreshadowing. I was just thinking about like when Uhura was coming down to the park to get them, and the doctor was like, "Get that damn light out of my eyes." And then, like an hour and a half later, dude, like it would just be so bright, and I was like,
You're
"Get that
reading too much
damn light
into
out of my
You're
eyes."
reading too much into it. They did set up and pay off the boots, right? Like he's got the boots in the beginning, and then he uses the boots to save them in the elevator shaft.
Mm-hmm.
So they do some setup and payoff, but I'm not sure they will.
And the die alone thing comes up. The die alone thing pays off, and the whole family. We don't have families, and then that there's a lot of payoffs actually.
Oh, it is.
In the film, there's so many little payoffs.
You know, I am so uncomfortable with the way that people are othered in TOS. It's a real turnoff for me. You know, I just feel like people are so othered. Now, I know that it's a different time period in our history, but I really
you describe what
don't.
You mean by that? Like what? Can you give an example of how?
I mean, because you know, it's like the '60s, and like they're allegories and things. Like I just feel like people are so othered that it just bothers me. You know.
That's interesting. I'd love to dive into that with you because for me, it feels like they're shining a light on the idea of the other and how it's really not the whole, like that. It's trying to say like the idea of the other is false. Like we're all the same. I think TOS tries to say we're all one. Like, but it's interesting that you see them. I do think that they use the example of the other to tell the story of, you know, oneness or you know, communion is a better word. I think like community and communion. I don't know. That's a really good point. We'd have to. I think this is so interesting. I feel like we should do a series for sure and dive into it. It's so cool. I now wish I've had you on my quest. It would have been torture for you if you still don't like the show. So
yeah, well, we'll not rush Braxton into watching all of these movies in the same month because it'll kill.
Yeah, we could do these like years and years later.
Let him breathe a bit.
It would suck me dry like that kid in Strange New World a few weeks ago.
I do think the next movie, if we do one, should be Star Trek 4, just to get your like actual focus thoughts on that movie. If you've only seen it, you know.
That's
here and
fair.
there, I think Star Trek 4 is a good one.
And that's one of the most beloved.
Is that the one who's like, where he's like, "Oh, I have and will always be your friend"? Is that one?
That's at the end of 2, and also 3. He says it a bunch of times, but I think that's 2 and 3. Like when he's at the door, at the wall, or whatever, like inside that, after he saves the ship, and he's all like melting and stuff like that, right? That scene you're talking about?
No, he's like in that. There's like a glass between them.
Star Trek 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the end of 2. All right, I'm gonna cut this off because now we're going on tangents. We're going on tangents. We gotta finish.
Thank you, Sean.
I'm going to say one thing about Star Trek 5. Okay. My appreciation of it has grown over the years, and it continues to grow. And that is not a comment on the quality of the film. I'm not saying the film is getting better. It's just that thematically, like how it talks about friendship, I feel like that, like it's applying itself more and more to my life, and I appreciate that I can constantly like come back to it with friends. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
I
so,
love
like,
that.
I don't know, like the friendship that they have in the film,
You
I
know,
feel like applies
Star
well
Trek
to like my friendship with like you guys,
Star
and
Trek
I
5
like
is a
that.
great movie to put on while you're barbecuing and having drinks and hanging out with friends, and no one's really watching it. They're just it's on in the background, and every now and then you see like that
And when
blinding
everyone
light,
starts,
you know, like
yeah, when everyone starts to doze off, boom, it hits them with the light.
the
It
light,
wakes
and it
everyone
wakes
up.
everyone up, and it's time to go home.
It's time to go. Yeah, it's time to go home, people.
All right, should I end the stream, Captain?
Well, let us say thank you to everyone for listening to us first. So thank
you,
you,
everybody.
everyone, for listening to us. Thank you both for being on. I love you both. There'll be links to their respective Twitter accounts and channels and what have yous in the description. Go check them out. They're wonderful people. Star Trek 5 forever, right?
Star Trek.
And
And actually, can I promote my hashtag?
go ahead.
Fuck yeah, Star Trek 5. So fuck yeah, Star Trek V is the hashtag that I tweet about Star Trek 5. So I would hope that I twatted it. Yes, so this is so much. Your last episode had these two edgy people on, Giraffe and Kyle Sullivan, and then this episode is just us talking trash and fuck yeah, and like, that. So, anyways, no, just kidding.
We contrast the same way that the Star Trek movies contrast, right? Is that it?
It's true. No, but that last episode is very it's very, 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 very interesting. Everyone go check out Trek Chat. But what I was gonna say is yeah, so check out that hashtag and add to it. If you have Star Trek 5 thoughts, you can just add to that hashtag and I'll see them. So I've been doing that with every movie. The longest I've been working on is Star Trek the Motion Picture, which is fuck yeah, Star Trek TMP. And unfortunately that one I'm still not done tweet. It's very slow tweeting. So yeah, go check those out.
All right, live long and prosper, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.